what is our primary mission? Because which one of us would say that we're more important than Jesus? Which one of us would say that we have a goal that is of Jesus? That means followers of Jesus. So if we are followers of Jesus, and Jesus' primary mission statement for the reason he's here on this earth was to seek and to save the lost, what does that automatically assume of everyone who wants to call themselves Christian? Yeah, we have the same mission statement in our life. This is not something that was unique to Jesus. Everyone who follows Jesus, this is your thesis statement in your life. This is your primary mission statement, which is ironic because people always talk about they're trying to find their purpose, right? Everyone's always trying to find their purpose and look for supposed to marry or where you want to go to school. At the end of the day, this is it right here, what we just read. This is your purpose in life, is to seek and to save the lost. Go ahead, Brad. Did you have a...
Well, just that we've been covering previously in John 10, we covered last week.
So let's have some step-on-toes moments, some realization for ourselves. And I'm including everybody in this, and this doesn't matter what church we're talking about or what group of people we're talking about. If this is our primary mission statement, that if you look at the purpose of my life, and my purpose is to seek and to save the lost, and I look at my life and what I'm doing, how much of my life falls under the seek and to save the lost? Let me tell you how we usually interpret that. The perfect sinner, or just have the perfect neighbor, or whatever it is, the perfect opportunity. We're always praying for opportunities. We want God to open those doors. And there's nothing wrong with praying for opportunities. Paul did it, right? He said, pray that God may open up a door, that the gospel may advance to the Colossians. And so this is where we really want to start this morning, is if we want to be involved in this mission statement as we're called to in our lives as Christians, as disciples of Jesus, where this is going to start is in changing our vision and in changing how we see other people. Because this is all a part of the seeking aspect. We need to learn to see souls. And to do that, I want us to break down Matthew chapter 9. Let's go ahead and go to Matthew chapter 9 to recognize about how we, and you see Jesus' interaction with this crowd. Picked, it says that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Love was the motivation. Compassion was the motivation. That as he looked out at these people, and I want you to consider the kind of people that would be made up in this crowd. You've got all kinds of different people in this group. You divide them into different categories. He looked, or someone who, that's Romans chapter 3. There's nothing, and this is just, let me build a case here. Does anybody know what the bystander effect is? What's the bystander effect? Mom, what's the bystander effect?
The bystander effect is when there's a large group and there's something that is going awry and it's tended to, somebody else will do it.
That's right.
You stand by as a bystander and you know that somebody needs to respond and you look around to see who's going to, rather than stepping out of yourself.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed, when people get in a fight or something terrible happens? Right.
I have noticed, even in just talking to other people, one of the things that they do if something like that does happen, their thought is, oh, this is going to get me likes when I post it, whatever,
Yeah.
Instagram, whatever. And I've been hearing that. It's going to get them, that's all they think about. Oh, hey, I'm in the right place that I can get, think how the likes I'm going to get. It's like,
Yeah.
and that makes me cry inside.
Yeah. And really that's, when you give of yourself in a way that brings return, that's not a sacrifice. And Jesus spends a lot of time in his ministry talking about that and how we serve others. So let's think about some things Jesus would teach. Good Samaritan. When you look at that story, if we're going to place the church in that story, what individual best represents the church? Is it the Samaritan, or is it the priest and the Levite? Because the priest and the Levite saw the need of the man who was beaten and bruised and in a deathly state, and what did they do? They walked right past. The one who stopped and loved and did something was moved to heart with compassion. Ezekiel talks about the bystander effect. And he says that you are like a watchman for Israel, is what the Lord tells Ezekiel. And that if you see the enemy coming and you don't warn, you do nothing. And you can read this in Ezekiel chapter 3, verses 16 through 21. That they'll die, but their blood will be held on your hands because you said nothing, because you did nothing. But if I sound the horn and I warn and I do something as a watchman and they don't respond, then that's on themselves, but you yourself will be saved because I didn't just stand by and do nothing. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. That's Edmund Burke. You know what else he said? He said, nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. Let me explain why I think most people fall here. It's not because they don't want to care. It's because we feel like we won't make a difference. And so we do nothing. We feel like that's removing the power without even recognizing it. Pride is the root of that decision. You know, think about how many people rejected Jesus, and if Jesus didn't do the things that he did because he was worried people would reject him. Jesus knew people would reject him. This was the